Today we're going to train on mentality and mindset. I think personally it's like the most important thing. You can all learn the pitch. We probably all pretty much the exact same pitch, if I was to guess. But there's a reason, right, why some of you sell 100, and there's a reason why some of us sell golden doors or $1 million. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. Cool. So yeah, how to create an unbreakable mindset. This is my career path, just so you guys have a little reference. First summer, backing up a little, for those who haven't heard the podcast, I got recruited like 3 days after my LDS mission. I knew nothing about door-to-door. My buddy the guy who married my cousin made like 80 grand, and I was like, oh yeah, dude, I'm about it. So anyways, went out, did way well, sold 400 accounts, and then the story goes on. So anyways, career total, I've done 3.5 million and 3,600 accounts. So it's been awesome. So I'm from Sandy, Utah, graduated in 2017. I actually played college soccer for like a year and a half. Loved it. Like I said, went on an LDS mission. I love skiing. Love my sweet and beautiful wife. And we have a little black lab. So that's a little about me before I jump into it. We'll wait for Roz. Okay. This is something I'm way passionate about. Self-talk. Like the words you tell yourself actually really do matter, right? And there's tons of studies shown about 80% of our thoughts are negative. And so when you're out there on the doors, right, or even in life, I think a lot of the times we're just so negative to ourselves. And it cannot happen, right? So, couple things I do. Probably the biggest thing I'm known for at this point, I've created a mixtape every summer with my goal. So I'll sit down and I'll write down what I want. I sold 1.5 million, and I'll put it in past tense. So I'll record myself, usually in like September or October. My team won our Rumble or our championship. I'm the best door-to-door salesman ever. I wake up with exponential amounts of energy. So I'll write all these things down, and I'll listen to it 3 or 4 times a day. And so what starts to happen, even if I'm not that guy yet, I start to become that guy because I've listened to it over and over and over. The other thing, right, until you've done something you haven't. So a lot of you guys, who wants to win a golden door next year? Okay, like a lot of you. Who hasn't, in the past, who won a golden door in here? Okay, a couple. Guys, it's really tough for you to tell yourself, right, like I'm a golden door rep, but you have to fake it. You have to tell yourself, I am that guy. You have to tell yourself, look, I am the type of guy who can win a golden door, and you have to trick your mind, okay? You got to be a dreamer. I create vision boards. So on my phone, I have a vision board. It's got all the things I want in 5 years, and I'm looking at this every day. My first summer, I had 400 accounts on there. My second summer, I had 1,000 accounts on there. So whatever your goal is when you go out and knock, I do recommend putting it as your screensaver because you're looking at it constantly, right? You're looking at I don't even know how many times I pick up this thing, okay? As far as on the doors, I'll talk about this way briefly, and then we can move on. On the doors, like people actually think I'm crazy. Like especially some of my managers like Drew and Garth. It's like I'll call them and be like, dude, I'm the best to ever do this. I love this. I love knocking. I'm going to sell 15 today, right? I'm telling myself all these way positive, encouraging things. So, anyways. Oh, pause this. Sorry. Will this play at all? Okay, before you play it, how many of you guys have seen this clip of Draymond Green? It's the best. So Draymond, in this interview, the interviewer asks, he says, do you really believe you are the best? Or something along those lines. And he is like, oh yeah, I totally believe it. I tell myself I'm the best. In order to become the best, you have to fully believe it. If you guys don't believe you're a Golden Door rep, you will never do it. Okay, so let's see if this will work. Hold on.
Draymond, Mark Schwartz, ESPN. I saw a couple days ago you described yourself as the best defender ever. Can you talk about why you have that kind of conviction about your place on the all-time list and where Kawhi Leonard ranks for you?
I think as a competitor, if you're trying to do something meaningful, if you don't have the mindset that you're the best ever, you failed already. So if you don't have the mindset that you are the best reporter ever, then you already failed. And that's been my mindset since I can remember. That will be my mindset as long as I can remember anything, that I am the best ever at what I do. And every day that I step on the basketball floor, I will strive to be that. But my mindset will always be as such, as I am the best to do what I do. And that'll give me a shot at being the best. But before you can ever reach anything, you have to believe it. You don't just mistakenly become great at something. You probably at one time or another, believe that you can be great at that. And then you work to get great at that, and you reach that greatness. But you don't mistakenly become great. And then you start to believe, oh man, I'm great at that. No, you believed that before, and you work to get that. So I always believe that, and I'll work every day to reach that.
Now, Kawhi has a great nickname based on his...
Cool. Something way important he said is before you ever became great, you have to believe it. If there was more of you guys who actually believed you could do the things you could do, like be dreamers, guys. Actually, you're capable of way more than you ever can imagine. So, okay, let's go on to the next. Okay, so this is what Roz was talking about. I believe in this fully. I talk about it all the time with my guys. I talk about it with my wife on the off season. But with that being said, stacking dubs, essentially what I'm doing is I'm just creating tons of little small wins throughout the day. On the off season, on the season, when I'm knocking doors. So I'll give you guys some examples. Before the market, how I callous my mind, I'm going to do tons of hard things that suck. And I'm going to purposely do it as many times as I can. Whether that's running marathons. This picture actually, down here at the bottom right, we did the 4x4x48. How many of you guys have heard of that? Cool. It sucked. It was horrible. I hated it. Barely slept. So for those who don't know what it is, you run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But for sure that, I don't know a dollar value you can put on that challenge. But I know for sure, right, on Saturday night when all of my friends are home and they're not knocking, and you're hearing those demons of, dude, you've sold enough, you can go home, you can stop. I've already beaten those demons before going out for the summer, right? And so I want to get as close to those demons as I possibly can. I want to befriend them. Me and my demons, we're homies. We're hanging out on the weekend. We're hanging out at 5 a.m., right? And so another thing, guys, if you become super comfortable doing something that was hard, that no longer should you no longer should be doing that because you've conquered that demon. Does that make sense? Another thing, right? Like we see all the time these guys doing ice baths or whatever it might be. After a while, I see them start to get more comfortable. They should go do it a different way. Like how many of you guys have ice bathed in a river? Sucks. It's way harder than like in a cold plunge, right? So that's how I'm stacking dubs before going out to market, doing the things that suck. Okay? On the doors, how I'm stacking dubs. I'm not writing out with people who are negative. I'm for sure not doing that. I'm also hyping myself up in the morning. The first thing I'm saying when I'm waking up is, guess what I'm listening to? My Seager mixtape. You sold 1.5 million. And I'm hearing that over and over and over, okay? This picture right here, this is me, Drew Hansen in the back, and then Calvin. This is like my favorite day of the summer. It was Memorial Day. I sold 19K, Calvin sold 17, and then Drew sold 34 grand, which is crazy. So the vibes in your car group are super important, okay? On the doors, as I'm knocking the doors, the way I'm stacking dubs, I'm collecting ammo. I'm looking for things. I'm looking for toys. I'm looking for Trump flags. I'm looking for whatever it might be, anything that can help me, okay? After a bad day, for those, you probably won't believe this, not this year, last year, I bageled one day. So last year I sold $1 million. This year I sold 1.5. I got home and the VP, or one of our owners, John Taylor, calls me. He's like, dude, what happened? Did you crash your Segway? Did you not knock? Did you get sick? I was like, no, dude. He's like, was it pouring rain? Was it a tornado? I'm like, no, dude, I just sucked. Like, just the deals didn't fall, right? So I told John, and I laughed about it. It's like, dude, it's okay. The world's not going to die. Tomorrow I'm going to go and sell 20. So, right, a lot of people in that situation would have cried, would have said, dude, I hate this job, would have gotten way negative on themselves. The difference with me is I have perspective. One day of the summer is not going to change my entire summer. And I told John, I'm like, hey, dude, look, I'm not going to go to the morning training tomorrow. I'm going to go out. I'm going to start knocking at 9 a.m., and I'm going to go sell 20. And the next day I went out and I sold 15, right? But for me, in order to say that, right, it's just making sure my engine is going. So, okay, next. Cool. This is like one of my favorite quotes ever. It's by Alex Hermosi. You don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof you are who you say you are. Outwork your self-doubt. This is like totally builds off like the stacking dubs. Guys, if you have the most calloused mind, if you have done all of these hard things, you can shout the affirmations, you can be that guy, but until you've done those hard things, it's really tough. So, anyways. Okay. This is probably by sure the most important thing ever. Proximity. Who you guys hang out with really does matter. It does. I hate to say it. And some people are not going to like this. So, having a supporting team is super, super, super important. You've got to cut all of the bad apples out of your life. If you have reps on your team who are super negative, who haven't sold in 3-4 weeks, they probably shouldn't be out there. They're dragging down the entire team. Okay? As far as proximity, it's in the pudding, right? So here's Grit's Golden Door production. Our first year in business, we had 2. Our second year, we had 11. After that, we had 14. This past year, we had 37. We also had more than half of those guys get off the doors. So Drew, Calvin, Parker, Skyler, a bunch of these guys who won Golden Doors in the past got off. Guys, the only reason we're so good and the only reason I'm so good is because of the people I'm around. We're sharing everything. We are abundant. We're not making guys pay for trainings. We're not. Guys, the only way you can get better is by helping others. And the industry needs more of that. It sucks. It really does suck when we are in recruiting meetings and it's like, oh yeah, dude, I want to train with this guy, but he's going to make me pay $5,000 to do a training for an hour. That's stupid. Okay? You really do become the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So be really careful who you surround yourself with. And part of your duty of those 5 people should be to uplift them. If you're not uplifting your other 4 people, you're not adding value to those 5 people. Okay. Cool. Belief. I think we've talked about this a ton. I just want to give you guys a little bit more perspective on it. Don't box yourself in. I sit down with reps all the time, and they're like, dude, I'm a 4-a-day rep. I'm a 400 account rep. These guys are just way different than me. Oh, Zach, he's different, dude. He's just, dude, that guy, his screws are loose. He's weird. He's not like me. Guys, I am a human. If I've done it, you guys can do it too. Okay? What happens, though, I think a lot of the times, we unintentionally box ourselves in. Every year I've done 400 accounts. A way good example is one of my dearest friends, Adam Clark. I'm going to get emotional if I talk about him. But he worked at another company. Adam, raise your hand. Dog. But he worked at a different company, sold 400 accounts. How many years in a row? 3 years in a row. The only thing he changed, guys, his pitch didn't change. The only thing he changed was his environment and his proximity. That's the only thing he changed. And what happened? He went out this past summer, sold 730 grand in revenue. Guys, you don't have to change. Yeah, give it up for Adam. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just don't. And what you care about really, like I care, guys. Like I care about the industry. I care about the space. I care about the people. And it just sucks when you have leaders that are going out and they're meeting with you, right? And they're putting a cap on you. Oh, dude, I met with this other company. They said a really good goal for me would be like 100 accounts. And unintentionally, you box yourself in. Oh, dude, I'm going to go out and do 100 accounts because that's what my manager thinks I can do. Another way you unintentionally box yourself in, whatever your manager is, whatever he's done, that's what you think is good. Right? How many of you guys have heard the speed of the leader, speed of the team? Not that many. Guys, if your leader is sprinting, if he's out there in charge going fast, and he's selling 10, 15, 20 accounts every day, what do you think is going to happen to the team? They're just going to start selling. Even if you're giving the worst trainings ever, they're going to start selling a lot because guys are competitive by nature, and gals. So, a couple more things. I wrote 1,000 accounts on sticky notes all over my house. Selling 1,000 became the only thing I cared about. This was the year I went from 400 accounts my rookie year to 1,000. I get asked all the time, like, dude, did you change your pitch? Did you have this secret line from Drew Hansen that you listened to his recordings? It just wasn't. Guys, I became so obsessed with selling 1,000 accounts, that was the only thing that mattered in my life at that time. So the line right here, I wish I wouldn't have done it in white because you can't see it that well. But it says, if you want something bad enough, you'll find a way to make it happen. You just will. Like the amount of golden doors we had this year, I think it was like 60. It isn't a talent thing. Like we have guys that stay out till November. It's because they crave it, they want it. That's the only thing they're thinking about. Okay? So, last thing, blinders on, going fast. A lot of the times, I think we get stuck in this comparing game of like, oh, dude, like here's another way good example of Adam. He's like, dude, I sold 50 this week. I suck. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, what are you talking about, dude? That's more than almost everyone in this room has ever sold in a week. The only reason he said that is because that same week I sold 98, right? And so I think a lot of the times when you have the goal and you become so obsessed about hitting that goal, your blinders go on. And you're not worrying about anyone else. You're not worrying about anything else anyone else is doing. All you're worrying about is your goal. Okay, next. If everything was to go perfect in 2024, what would it look like? Pull out your phones and write it down right now. Everyone. How much money would you make? How much impact would you have? What would your relationships look like with your family? Do it. If everything was to go perfect in 2024, what would it look like? We do this one time a year, January 1st. Sucks. We should be looking at this all the time. So, my challenge to you guys, create a vision board. Second thing, start believing in yourselves more. You guys are so much more capable than you actually think. So, with that being said, I wanted to leave some time for questions. What questions do you guys have?
I got you. Hey, thanks, Zach. I just want a day in the life of the grind. What time are meetings? What time are you getting out there? What's your mindset? Yeah, just time management.
Raz is about to burn 400 calories running back and forth. Yeah, day in the life. Like now or in the summer. Summer, cool. Guys, I have never been like the biggest morning routine guy. I probably should be. But usually I'll wake up around like 8:30. I'll cruise over to the office, get there around 9. Me and the leadership on my team, we would have extra trainings from 9 to 10. And it was a Google Calendar so guys could book on us. And so there were like 15 to 20-minute slots, and we would just listen to recordings. So from 9 to 10, from 10 to 11, I'm running the morning training for the entire office. From 10 to 11, we're going over like business items such as the weather, Pokemon of the day, fun things. We're trying to keep this meeting fun and exciting. We'll go play Lightning. And then from 12:30, we're grabbing lunch. And then from 12:30 till 9:39, whenever it gets dark, we're knocking the entire squad. So that's what it looks like. What other questions? There's one in the back.
Hey, I actually have two, if that's okay. What are some things that you do in the first 30 seconds to engage a client at the door? And also, how do you handle your day if you ever are running behind on your schedule or something like a block comes in the way?
First 30 seconds, guys, it goes back to like self-talk. I am the guy. When they open their door, that is my office, and I'm controlling the entire conversation. Right? If the first 30 seconds I'm shaking, I'm nervous, I don't look like I'm dialed, the customer's going to feel that. Right? I've heard it. I don't know how true this is. You have like the first 3 to 5 seconds, 7 seconds in order to build rapport.
Got it.
What a blessing. Roadblocks. Shit will always hit the fan. It just will. And the more like you understand that, the better. So going into the summer, I fully understand that something will happen every single day. But I understand, right? I'm a winner. I'm going to go out and win every single day. Even if, let's say, I only get a knock 3 to 5 hours, I'm still going to win. I'm still going to go out and sell 10. That's the mindset I'm doing. So, I know Zach had a question over here.
Yeah, so Siegs, I think a common stigma in our industry is that in order to go out and sell really well, you have to knock like 9 to 9 every single day, and you can't run a big team and sell super well. Correct me if I'm wrong, you guys did 7 million? Okay, 6.8 million as a team this year that he led, and $400,000 of his revenue came after 8 p.m. How do you balance managing a team of that size while also performing at such an elite level?
Yeah, you guys saw like how emotional I got talking about Adam. Like every single guy on my team is part of my family when I go out there, and all I care about is 2 things for my guys: earnings and experience. Because if I can deliver those 2 things, then those guys will want to come back and work with me. And the goal, right, of anybody, and this is why like I get so emotional about leadership in the space. The goal should be impact. It shouldn't be, dude, how much is my margin? It shouldn't be, oh, my marketing deal is this. The goal should be, dude, how much impact can I have on this fella? That should be the goal. And it's bullshit. It is. Like, it sucks. When we have all these guys saying, no, dude, I can go out. If I recruit 12 guys, they're 12 directs, I start them at 18%. It sucks. That's not what the summer should be. This should be the best job for anyone, dude. The fact that you can go out and make 20 to 30, 40, 50, 200, 500 grand in 4 months, that's crazy. And part of the reason we run such great teams is because it's it's sacred. It's sacred. It's a blessing for us. So, other questions? Anything?
Well, my biggest question as of right now is like for this next summer. I know with like competing at with performing at such an elite level, for this next summer, are you planning to keep pushing that past the 1.5 million to 2, or are you planning on taking a step back to really up your impact with your team and make it and like help them perform?
How are we feeling, Roz? Tired? Whatever makes sense. Whatever makes sense for the people. If it's 1, if it's 2, probably not 3. But yeah, whatever makes sense. Does that answer your question? Yeah, cool.
Hey, appreciate it. Just some advice on the doors. What do you do to keep it fresh each door? If it's after a close and you're moving on to maybe the next door, or if it's after a door slammed in your face, how do you keep it fresh each door? How do you keep your attitude positive?
Yeah, so he said, how do you keep your attitude positive between each door? The goal. Like, I become so obsessed and I crave hitting that goal, and that's the only thing I'm worrying about when I'm out there on the doors. Does that make sense? Meaning, guys, your goal should become so damn important to you. That's the only thing you should be worrying about out there. You shouldn't be worrying about the Karens. You shouldn't be worrying about the last door that slammed on your face. You shouldn't be worried about getting cussed out. When you become so obsessed about hitting your goal, there's no way you don't achieve it. You'll find a way. Like, I don't care how you do it. I don't care you'll find a way of hitting your goals. That's not just in door-to-door, right? When you become so obsessed and you crave hitting that, you're going to do it. So, what other ones?
So for me, my question is, when you're taking that belief from the doors and in the summer, how do you turn that switch off in the off season and take that from the summer to the off season, and then right back into it? The attitude, kind of based off his question, how do you take that attitude from the doors to the off season, back to the doors, constantly doing that every single year?
It just goes back to your vision, right? So whatever you have on your vision board or whatever you wrote down, right? If everything was to go perfect in 2024, what would that look like? The vision has to be big, right? It can't just be the summer. So on the off season, right, I'm thinking about how can I enjoy more time with my wife? How can I make her life better? How can I add more value to it? I'm thinking about how can I recruit? How can I build a massive organization and have more impact? That's what I'm thinking about. Does that make sense? Cool.
What's up, Zach? My question, what are the biggest changes you made the summer that you hit $1 million or the summer you hit a golden door compared to previous summers?
So yeah, biggest changes. My first summer I sold 400 accounts. Was like the third best rookie at the company. Second summer, the entire off season I hung out with my mentors or my homies. So Drew Hansen, who has crushed every single year, sold 1.3 million last year. The year before sold 1.1. I just started to humanize these figures of dude, they're not. Drew's human. He's not an alien. He's not different than me. If he can do it, I can totally do it. Does that make sense? So I started hanging out, the proximity thing. I started hanging out with people who were better than me, and it made me just realize oh, that's not a big deal. Like, for him to do that, I can totally do that. The other thing I did, trained. I trained a ton, and then I also did all the shitty things we talked about, like the 4x4x48. Ran a marathon that year as well. Was waking up 5 or 6 a.m. every day. Would go like touring, skiing, and it's way hard, and my thighs would hurt like all the time, right? So the biggest thing right there is just getting closer to your demons. So that year I went from 400 to 1,000. I just became friends with those demons. I understood them more. So that when I was out in the summer, right, it's like, oh, dude, you've sold 10. My rookie year, it's like, oh, dude, I've sold 10. I can kind of let the brakes off, or I can put the brakes on. Where like my second year, it's like, oh no, I know you. You and me were friends. You're not right. I'm right. I need to go for 20. Does that make sense?
First of all, thank you for doing this. How do you disassociate maybe being so focused on the goal and what you want to achieve and becoming like transactional in those interactions versus like being there for the homeowner and still being able to like achieve that goal? Does that make sense?
Yeah, great question. It's totally ethical. I'm not lying about anything. The goal aligns, right? There's no point of selling 1.5 and like making 20 grand. Like that'd suck. But no, like goes back to your core values. Like, what do you care about? I'm not a liar. That's just not me. I am very intentional. Like it just goes back to what you care about. If you care about like retention, if you care about like the homeowner, if you care about the customer, they're going to totally feel it. So, yeah, what other questions?
Zach, so you had a massive contract value, and you sold probably more volume than most people in this room. What would you say to those that say it's not possible to sell that much volume with that high of a contract value without compromising retention and having massive attrition?
Just goes back to what you care about, like your values. Like I'm not a liar. Just so everybody knows, we've been paid our back ends. My attrition was 30%. I sold at a 1,200 ACV and sold over almost 1,300 accounts. So what you guys should care about, right, is like how much are you netting? Meaning, if you're selling a $600 contract value and you have 10% attrition, that's like 540 is what you're netting. Meaning that's what you're getting paid off. Where if I'm selling a $1,200 contract and I have 30% attrition, what I'm getting paid off is like the 840 or the 820. So I'm still netting more. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? Okay. What other questions?
How do you balance leading big teams and killing it on the doors? Any tips?
Like the data just shows, right? Like I talked about earlier, speed of the leader, speed of the team. If you care about your teams, you will go out or you'll have somebody on your team who is ripping. That's like what you'll actually care about, right? And your guys will feel that. These guys were in Jersey with me last year. They totally understood how much I cared about them. They really did. And I understood, right? If I wasn't selling, I didn't know who was going to sell. So it's my job, right? It's my responsibility to go out and sell for these guys so they can follow suit. If I'm selling 15 to 20 every day, they're going to be selling 10 or 8 or even 3. But if I'm not selling at all or I'm pretending to sell, oh, dude, I was getting so many phone calls. Oh, dude, I had to redo area so much. Oh, dude, I had to go back to the office and help the branch manager with the chemicals. Like your guys, they see through that. It's BS. What they care about is you out there in the trenches. They love that, dude. So, does that answer?
So one of my biggest goals this upcoming summer is increasing my CV. And so I wanted to know for you, what are ways that you really help to build the value? And even though it's like, it's really the same thing that a lot of people are doing, but increasing that value.
Yeah, great question. I gave a training on this 3 days ago at the Grit headquarters. The easiest way to add value, guys, is just stop talking about the service. Like, it's not how tall your Webster pole is. I hate to say it. Like, your Webster brush, it's 25 feet. It's not 30. People don't care how big it is. They don't care how many granulars they put out. They don't care how far out you put the granulars. They don't care if you spray the entire yard. They don't care if you use the black bait boxes or the white bait boxes. They don't care if you inject the walls. They don't care if you spray the inside of the house. They don't care if you do the garage. What they care about is their problem. And so the sooner you can find that problem and then push it or find the hot button and press it, that's how you're going to sell high contract values. My highest contract value was like this past summer, like 1900. It was just off an eave treatment, and that was it. Technician showed up, started spraying the entire yard, and the customer's like, "What are you doing?" So, right, I'm going to have better retention as well if the customer is thinking, "Oh, wow, I paid for this, but I also get the yard, the rodents, the ticks, the fleas, the mosquitoes." They're going to love that. So,
Zach, what attributes to such a high sales to service ratio? I don't know, like same days, or like kind of explain like what that is for you.
yeah, if you guys are selling elitely, you should have a personal tech. Like, it blows my mind how like you're booking out 4 or 5 days. You should have somebody in a truck following you if you're selling 10 or more a day. That's what I do. I have a personal technician. Just tech. Yeah.
I would definitely have to say, how big is like self-reflection for you? Like at the end of the day, like do you self-reflect on what happened?
Yeah, I look myself in the mirror every night. I say, did I give it my all? If I gave it my all, great. If I sold 0, I'm not pissed off. I'm not worried. I'm not crying. I'm not throwing up in the toilet. If I sold, if I sold a lot, did I give it my best? Did I work all the hours? Did I go as hard?